Hi guys. I gave you a little preview this morning where I said that I would be recording my testimony of how I met God in my real environment, and I'll also record the one when He spoke to me with His audible voice. So here we go. So August 2024. So I had taken, the church was doing a lot of evangelism. And so I had taken a lot of flyers from church. This time I was attending Winners Chapel International, Orlando. And so I had taken a lot of flyers from the church, a lot. And the area where I was living in Orlando at the time, I said that the kids and I would go evangelizing in the evening after work. Because the area was kind of a busy area where you could, do effective evangelism. But Johns Hopkins Hospital started offering overtime. And so I started working a lot of overtime. So every evening I would procrastinate. I'll go tomorrow. Eventually, like 2 months passed. And I had all these flyers packed up in my pocketbook. And so I also used to host a Winner Satellite Fellowship in my home on Saturdays. And even that fellowship got suspended because I was working so much now and I couldn't keep up with that either. So my son Shaden had got into a specific high school that he wanted to go to. And it was in a whole other town, far away. And so we were commuting every day to go to the high school. And I said, you know what? We're going to move to that town where it's more convenient for him with the school. And so we looked for an apartment, and then we found an apartment like 5 minutes walking distance from the middle school. And so so we did the credit application. I got approved for the apartment. And so I initiated a funds transfer from my hospital 403 retirement account. So that was the Friday. So all the Saturday when I checked the status of the money transferred, it said that the transfer was complete and the funds was sent to my regular checking account. So the Monday, we went through the weekend, and the Monday came now where we were moving from where we were to the new town. And so when I checked my bank account the Monday morning, the funds still was not added to my bank account, which was unusual because it's not the first or the second time I took money from my retirement account. And the process usually takes 24 hours. It has never gone before 24 hours. So the Monday morning, it still wasn't credited to my regular account, but I still wasn't really troubled. So I still told the kids we are still moving this Monday. And so I packed up everything. Our U-Haul was already loaded. And I turned the keys over for that house to the owner. And then I said, okay, let's head over to our new place. Keep in mind, I decided now to move by faith, because now my new church winners had empowered me to walk by faith. So I decided to move by faith, even though I didn't see the money credited to the account as yet, to pay for the new place and get our keys. So we left and we drove over to the new place. So the office was closing at 6 o'clock. By now it was like around maybe 2:30, 3. The money still wasn't credited to the account. Again, I still wasn't as nervous. So I said to the kids, well, if the money ain't credit by this evening for us to get our keys, then we'll just sleep in a hotel the night and then we'll just move in the next day. So so the evening ran out, 6 o'clock came, the office closed, still logging into my online banking, the money is not credited. Logging in and checking my retirement account as well, it shows the funds left the account since the Saturday, and it still was not credited to my account. So we checked into the hotel the Monday night. And so because I didn't want my daughter, Zipporah High School to be disrupted, I packed her enough stuff to last for the week. And I had her stay with her best friend. right? So they came and picked her up from the hotel, and so she was by her best friend. And so the Tuesday morning, we got up, checked my bank account. The funds still was not credited to the account. So by now, I started to feel nervous because, like I said, we moved from the other place. So now technically we're homeless. We're at the hotel. All our stuff is on the U-Haul. And so technically we're homeless. So I started to feel a little nervous the Tuesday morning. So we checked out of the hotel. And then I told my son, I told Shaden, I said, okay, let's go hang out at Walmart. In that way, we have the convenience where we could buy food if we need to use the bathroom. We have the convenience to use the bathroom at Walmart. So while we were at Walmart, I keep checking my bank account. The funds is still not credited. So I was like, this is really odd. So anyway, I sat there. I reached out to my son, Keon, and I told him what was going on. And then I told him, to maybe front me some of the funds so we could pay for the place. And then even he was met with resistance from the military. I was like, well, what does the military have to do with this? This is personal. But anyway, so whilst at Walmart, I remembered my own bishop. He had an issue when his daughter was in the hospital, really sick, almost onto death. And he said he went in his office and he locked himself in his office. And then he started praying and saying, Lord, there has to be a way out of this situation. And God answered him and showed him the way out of the situation. And so I decided to key into that same testimony from my bishop. And so right there in Walmart, I started to pray. And I said, Lord, I need this money credited to the account so we could check into our new place, so we can pay for it and get our keys. Because I really took a leap of faith trying to walk by faith, and, this money is still not credited. Out of the blues, a voice said to me, there is a way out. And so I said, what is the way out? And he said, you ready for this? You remember all the flyers you took from the church? Well, you promised to distribute them with your children. So now here is your opportunity to distribute those flyers. Oh my gosh. Just try to imagine my skin, my paws raised, because now I realize what was happening. Every delay, every interruption was God himself intercepted my life, bring it to a halt in the middle of nowhere, because I had become an obstruction in his program. I was no longer evangelizing. I dropped out of the follow-up team because of working. I postponed or canceled the Winners Satellite Fellowship that was happening at my home. And I was doing all these things because now I was so focused and caught up on making money. And so, in other words, I replaced his agenda with money. So now I realized how much trouble I was in, thinking all these delays and all these things that was happening even with my son and the military. It was God himself that was creating the disruptions. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I realized now that there was no way out of this. I had to go evangelizing. So for the next 3 days, that was the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, my son Shaden and I, because remember Zipporah was already staying at a friend's house. So my son Shaden and I spent those 3 days in Walmart parking lot. I mean, we were sleeping in motels in the night, but we spent those 3 days evangelizing in Walmart parking lot until we distributed all those flyers. Then the Thursday night, when we checked into a hotel the Thursday night, by that time I was really broken, because I realized the battle I was in was not physical. So no physical person couldn't help me, because the battle was spiritual. I had open war against heaven. So now heaven was trying to show me who is in control. So now the job that I was putting before him, I couldn't go to the job anymore because all the equipment, everything was on the truck. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't go into my apartment. I was completely just stranded. And this is how powerful God is. God can disrupt our lives in a split second and turn our lives upside down. When we become an obstacle in his program. If your contributing is different, but when you become an obstruction, you declare war against him. And so there I was, and there was no way out. So after I finished distributing all the flyers, the Thursday now, the flyers were finished. And so I checked into the hotel, another hotel, the Thursday night. By that point, I was broken. I mean, really broken. I mean, I was in tears. I was crying. I was on my knees. I was pleading. I was pleading with heaven. I was pleading with heaven. And then I said to God, I made a recommitment, because even one of the things I had planned to, I said when I had moved into my new place, I was not going to reestablish the Winner Satellite Fellowship. So I had really declared war against him. And so that Thursday night, I was so broken. At that point, I was so broken. Because one, I was scared. Because I realized, who could fight against God? No one. So at that point, you're terrified. And you want to make sure that you're doing everything now that he would release your life. Basically. So, so that night, I was so broken. And I was crying. I was crying in the hotel, really crying. And I went on my knees and I was crying out to him. And then I made some recommitments to him. I told him I'll rejoin the follow-up group. And then I'll join the unit that really speaks to my passion, which is the sanctuary keeping unit, which I eventually transitioned from follow-up to sanctuary keeping. And then I told him I'll re-establish the Winner Satellite at my new apartment. And then I promised that I would no more procrastinate on things that I make commitment to the church that I would do. I would no longer procrastinate on doing it. And after I said all that to him, and then I was there, my prayers was heartfelt. Because remember, I tell you guys, heaven only answers when there's emotion and feelings connected. And so after I finished crying to him and pleading my case, then I remember I went on the bed and I lied down. And when I woke up the Friday morning, there was the notification on my phone. The money was posted to the account. Oh my gosh. So it took us all week. We had to honor our commitment of evangelizing and distributing those flyers. And I did some rededication, and God heard. He heard my prayers. And he saw my tears like Hezekiah. And he released the money the Friday morning. And so we were able to go and get our keys and move into the apartment. And since then, I have never stopped honoring my commitments that I make in church. And anything I say that I'm going to do for him, I do it. Because God is real. He is real, I'm telling you. He is as real as you would touch your children. He's as real as you would touch your spouse. God is real. He is real. And now I am so grateful that now I live in his manifested presence, because now we have established such a relationship. Now I do everything he tells me to do. And you do not want to declare war against heaven. Because the job that I was putting before him and all the money that I was going after making with the overtime, all of a sudden it was all taken away. And for a whole week, I couldn't go to the very job I was putting before him. I couldn't make any money. Now he had just brought my life to a complete halt. All because I neglected my responsibilities at church, going after money and overtime. And I have, since then, as I said, I had rededicated my life. I mean, rededicating my commitments, and I have not cheated him since. And our relationship has just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. And so this is the testimony I wanted to share of how we met. The next testimony I'm going to upload is with the Ministry of Angels, how they delivered Shaden from in the middle of the ocean. That's right. Current pulled him from on the sand out in the middle of the ocean. There was nobody. Meanwhile, I was somewhere else praying, and angels went and got him. And then our next testimony I'm going to upload for you as well is where the angels again delivered us. We were on a head-on collision to a concrete wall with steel bars and stuff. And the next thing I know, our truck was lifted from the side street and put on the main traffic flowing. So trust me, I know the God that I'm serving, and I know whose presence I'm dwelling in on a daily basis. He is real, and he looks out for me and my children. And I just want to encourage you today to press in and get to know him. Not just know him as you know that he's in your heart when you accept Christ again. Press in for his real presence. That's right, his real presence. Because as long as you press in for that, he's going to reveal his real self to you. And you're going to see how much more your life has meaning, how much more he's going to move your life forward as he direct and guide it. You know, when I went on a prayer and fast to find out what was my purpose, and then he told me that he called me into the ministry of prophecy, that I'm an ordained prophetess. And, you know, he validated that by showing visions of me to 2 different pastors in Winners. One here in the United States and another one all the way in Nigeria. And they both called me on my phone and told me the same thing, that God showed me them in a vision, that he has called me into the ministry of prophecy, and that I'm an ordained prophetess to bear his name, to carry his word, to be his mouthpiece on this earth. And so I am telling you, press in to get to know his real person. He is a real person, and he doesn't want to remain a distant friend. But he's also a gentleman. He's not going to impose himself on you. It's something you have to want. All right, guys? So that's how he and I met. His real person, that's how we met. And the next testimony I'll also share too is when he spoke to me with his audible voice. All right, so guys, stay tuned. Tune into our YouTube channel so that way you can subscribe when you look at these videos. And looking forward to seeing you guys. Bye.